Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you once again for tuning in. You guys are amazing. I can't believe where we're at. And it's because of all of you guys for sharing these episodes. And it's also the guests that I've had on. They've been very vulnerable and sharing their stories. And it's just amazing to connect with people. And you guys are just fantastic. I need to give a shout out to our sponsors, Veracity Networks, Wasatch Recovery, Siegfried and Jensen, Living Recoveries Interventions, and iHill Institute. You guys believe in me. You believe in this podcast. You believe in what we're doing here, and I can't thank you enough. I do need to give a little just a shout out into the universe to some sponsors that I have that don't want to even be recognized. They just love the cause, and I can't even believe that. It's just mind-blowing. So thank you. You know who you are. And again, thank you for tuning in. And today we are joined by the hosts of the Health Interrupted podcast. We have Laura Kepler and Gina Lombardi. Thank you so much for joining us, Laura and Gina.
So excited to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I had the blessing and the opportunity to be on your guys' podcast a little over a month ago, I think it was. And it was just a great interview to be with you two. Your guys' energy and your positivity is just beautiful. And I'm just grateful to have you guys on my show now. And it's just great to be able to rub shoulders with great people like yourself.
Oh, we felt the exact same when we got the opportunity to speak to you, Todd. So thank you.
You bet. Well, let me give you guys a little background on these two amazing women. Laura Kepler, she is the former 2012 Miss America. She's an inspirational speaker, a brand ambassador, media personality, podcast host, and singer, performer, at-risk youth advocate. One of her passions is to work with children of incarcerated parents, which I want to learn more about. That sounds just absolutely amazing. And she's a devoted wife. Her greatest role is a mother to her two youngest sons, not daughters, but sons.
Yes. You guys remember that, right? What that's all about, you have to listen to our episode with Todd. He just couldn't get it right.
Yes, I struggled with that one, but I think I got it figured out now. But the list goes on. I could read forever about Laura, and same with Gina. Gina is a health and fitness expert, celebrity personal trainer, media personality, author, podcast host. She's got over 60,000 one-on-one personal coaching hours, which blows my mind. 30 years of media coverage. She's the creator and host of Fit Nation, the only investigative reporting show on Discovery Health. She's an expert judge for the Miss America organization pageant. She wrote a book, How to Be Successful as a Personal Trainer. And the list goes on and on and on. These women are amazing, amazing, amazing. So thank you for being here. I guess my first question, and maybe we'll start with, I'll start with you, Gina. Why don't you tell our listeners, why is helping other people so important to you? Why are you so passionate about that?
You know, this, and I think comes from my mom. It's something that she taught me when I was little, that it's always better to give than to receive. And I know we've all heard that before.
Right.
But how many of us, think about it, whoever's listening to this right now, think about it. Do you always think about what you want to get and what you want to take? Or do you think about more often what you can do for somebody else and what you can give? And when you give, you just feel so full. You feel so good. You make the other person feel good. And I just think it's a great way to live.
Yeah. It's awesome to have moms like that to teach us those powerful lessons. Thank you for sharing that. Laura, I'm going to ask you the same question. Why are you so passionate about helping other people?
Well, I've had a lot of help in my life along the way. And, volunteering and giving back was also modeled to me by my mom, but my family received a lot of help when I was younger and in middle school and high school. And I mean, a lot of help from our community. And so it's always been modeled to me that, when others help you, it's a responsibility in life to then turn it around and give back. And I echo what Gina says. It always feels better to give. Yeah. And when you can tap into being a part of something that's greater than yourself, that's, I think, one of the most fulfilling feelings.
Yeah. Well, very well said, both of you. You know, Neil Donald Walsh, a quote that I love from him. He says, if you want to be, give it away, right? If you want to be, fill in the blank, inspirational, go give it away, and you've got it. And that's exactly what you guys are saying. You know, Laura, you're an advocate for at-risk youth. Talk a little bit about that again, why that's, part of your platform and part of your passion is helping the youth.
Well, when I sort of got involved in the Miss America program, which was kind of on a whim, there's a key component in there that's every contestant has to have a platform, and it's something that they advocate in their community for, a cause they'll choose. And a lot of times it's something that's, impacted their own life that they feel is important to give back to the community in some way. And so for me, I realized that I could shed a message to kids who are going through a tough time, because when I was a teenager, my father spent time in prison.
Oh, wow.
For a white collar crime. And I could relate to kids that were really going through something difficult. And so I chose to make my platform advocating for children of incarcerated parents, and then spent my time working with at-risk youth programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, real small grassroots organizations. But, going back to giving back and helping others, especially kids who are struggling and going through a hard time, there's nothing more fulfilling than being a role model and telling them, you can achieve anything, you can pursue your dreams. Your circumstances don't have to define you. So it was really rewarding for me, and, just kind of went full circle for me.
Yeah. I have to ask, because my listeners would be like, why didn't you ask her this? You mentioned that your father was in prison. How did you handle that? How was that, how did that play a role with maybe your own mental health in going through that?
Well, of course it was difficult. It was the worst thing to happen to my family. I was a teenager. I had 2 younger sisters. My mother is a saint and a savior to our family, but our community too. We had a lot of community support. We had a lot of help from our church family, from our friends, school family. And, my dad learned a lot of valuable lessons and was able to turn his life around. He's been 10 years sober. And so, in retrospect, when you're going through something, it never feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel or something good that's going to come from this. But, I think we can all sort of look back at our challenges and say they shaped who I am. So I really wouldn't change much.
Wow. I love that. Congrats to your dad, 10 years sober. Good for him. That's amazing. And I do believe life happens for us, not to us. And so like you said, when you're in the thick of it, you don't necessarily see that, but when you look back, you go, man, look what I learned through this whole process.
Can I just say something about Laura, because of what she's been through and what she's achieved, she is such an amazing person. Like, she can literally handle anything and laugh in the face. Like, lots of times we have little bumps in the road, like with the podcast and everything. Sure. But she's always so level-headed, and it always blows my mind. Like, it never goes unnoticed, Laura, because you are strong. You are strong. A lot of people fall apart at the littlest thing. Mm-hmm. They'll cry if it rains. Yeah. And you are strong through and through. Well done. I just wanted to say that.
Aw, thank you. And same goes for you.
Yeah. Well, and again, look what both of you have accomplished. You guys are tough women. You guys can handle things, and doesn't mean you don't have rough days. I know that, but man, I look at both of you and what you guys have both done. You both are tough, and you guys do a lot of great things in this planet. So let's talk, Gina. Let's talk about being a personal trainer, and especially like a celebrity personal trainer. Why did you get involved in being a personal trainer?
Oh gosh, how far back should I go? In 1891. Well, I grew up with five brothers. Okay, I have one sister. We are completely different.
Right.
She's running in high heels. I'm in sneakers. Like that just sums it up right there. But five brothers, we had like a weight room downstairs. It was really rough. Like it was like in the cement basement. My dad had the Charles Atlas books. He was always into working out. And because my brothers were into it, I got into it because I just followed them around.
Right.
And I really got into working out when I was little, when I was like 10, 11. But, you couldn't lift heavy weights because we all knew that wasn't good for a growing child.
Right.
Don't lift heavy weights if you're less than 13. It'll ruin your place. But being around them really got me interested in fitness. But I didn't really take it seriously until the summer before college. I started working at a sports medicine facility where we were training not just regular everyday people, but also Olympic athletes. So I eventually got to work with the USA women's crew team.
Oh, wow.
Which was really cool. We had basketball players, football players. We had lots of people coming through the gym. It was a Nautilus gym, if you remember Nautilus.
Nautilus. Oh, yeah. That brings back some old memories.
Right? And it was a really cool place. And we had a sports medicine group of doctors that worked with us. So, we really learned a lot. And I made some money doing that. So I could then, when I went to college, I went to University of Pennsylvania for dental hygiene and health science and became a registered dental hygienist. So you're like, okay, I went down that path. How did I wind up over here?
Right.
Well, after sitting, which I love helping people, and being a hygienist was a really good job. My father was a dentist. But after sitting there for 9 years in a chair, I was like, I have too much energy. I can't sit in that chair anymore. So my first client was the dentist I worked for out here. He's like, well, I'm a runner. I would like to get more fit and better at running and stronger.
Yeah.
Why don't I be your first client? And he actually started sending me celebrities.
Oh, wow.
So because his practice was in Westwood, and we had all kinds of celebrities coming in and out of the dental practice.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, it was really cool. So that's how I wound up working with celebrities, and the types of people I was getting was so fascinating because be like, why does Tom Cruise need a trainer? Everybody needs a coach.
For sure.
Todd needs a coach. Laura needs a coach. I need a coach. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're the most elite athlete, you need a coach.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into the celebrity world.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how you look back? And I think it was Steve Jobs that said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And you can see how everything kind of plays out when you look back and how it all connected for you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, there's so much to talk about, but I do want to talk about, you guys created a podcast called the Health Interrupted Podcast. You just did your 50th episode. And I love how you guys kind of took excerpts from every episode and kind of made this one big episode about it on the 50th celebration, which is really cool. Tell us, maybe I'll start with you, Gina. Tell us why you started this podcast and why it's important, and kind of what's the whole purpose behind why you're doing it.
Well, the way it started was over the pandemic. Well, Laura and I had been wanting to do something together for years, write a book, do a TV show, do a radio show. And over the pandemic, we realized, because we've been working out together on FaceTime for 10 years.
Okay.
Because we're not always in the same city together.
Yeah.
So she always had a little kid hanging off her leg. It was either her one that's now 6 or the baby. And we were talking about how we're always interrupted. And we got on this idea, and then of course podcasting would be the only way we could do it over COVID, because we could do it through Zoom like we're doing now.
Right.
So it just seemed like the right fit, right, Laura?
Yeah. Well, it stemmed from the phrase, we're always interrupted. And especially as moms, Gina and I are always relating to each other with, in terms of being interrupted.
Yeah.
And then here we were sitting in the middle of the pandemic, and we were all massively interrupted. But we also at the same time realized how important our health was.
Mm.
The world was massively interrupted, and the light was shining on our health and how crucially important that is. And we set out to speak to people who've had big health interruptions in their life, and hear their stories and hear the stories of their resiliency and their ability to overcome. And we also felt it was really important to talk to doctors and experts to reveal their secrets to optimal health. Gina and I are just always trying to do everything we can to be as healthy as we can and live as long as we can. And so it's turned into something really inspiring.
Yeah. Well, I love your podcast. It's amazing. And, I want to talk about that because you guys are obviously very passionate about taking care of yourselves, both not only physically, but, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So maybe, Laura, why don't we start with you? I'd love our listeners to know, like, what do you do personally to kind of make sure, you're in line with, all of those areas with your emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental, making sure that you're healthy in all those areas. What does a day look like for you?
Well, I rewire my brain about 50 times a day.
Me too.
I do not say that lightly. One of the things that I've learned over the last handful of years is to pay attention to my thoughts and to interrupt them. Yeah. And because, we all have these stories and narratives, and sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not. So much is based on what we feel in the moment. And rewiring my brain has been a huge thing for me. Anytime I have a negative thought about myself, about someone else, I always catch it and I flip it.
Love it.
Breath work has become really, really important to me, as also a way to rechannel my thoughts, my feelings, my energy. And I also have really, really started to journal intensely.
Okay.
And it's another way to dump all of my thoughts somewhere, to be able to have it all like right there. And then really to see, what's actually true in here, what's actually not true in here,
right.
Because there's a lot, feelings can change and they're so fluid. But writing, breathing, and rewiring my brain are like my top three.
I love that. And, our brains, they call it what, neuroplasticity, meaning it's malleable. And I love that we can rewire our brains. Our brains are like software, and we can program them. We might have to reprogram, 50 times a day, but I love that. How about you, Gina? What does a day look like for you? What do you do to kind of keep yourself in line with those areas that we just mentioned?
I get up at noon. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, me too.
I know. I've tried to call you and you're like, I'm sleeping. It's noon. I do want to say we had Dr. Daniel Amen on our podcast recently. He's the famous brain doctor. Yeah. And he said something really important. Well, he said a lot of things important, but he said, you're not stuck with the brain you have. And I never really knew that was a thing, that was true.
Yeah.
And he goes through and you can do a brain assessment, by the way, on his website, which I think everybody should just do anyway. But it's really good to know that you're not stuck with your defaults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot, like Laura, you're saying you rewire your brain like 50 times a day. Those things that you're trying to shift, those are your defaults. And you're like, no, I'm not going to go down that path. And you take it here.
Well,
we can train those, right?
Yeah. And not to interrupt you, but our defaults are typically established in childhood.
Yeah.
And as adults, it's our responsibility, I believe, to look back and say, are those defaults actually true? Or are they results of circumstances and their learned behaviors?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you go to your journal and you write it out. You write the thought. And then you ask yourself, is that really true? Or is it something that I learned that isn't really true anymore, that doesn't serve me anymore? And then you rewire it.
Yeah.
So great.
I love that, Laura, when we ask the question, like there's so much power in asking the question, because what's interesting is that we'll actually end up finding the answer by just asking the question.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we're afraid to maybe even ask that question. So I love that you do that. That is a very powerful exercise, I'm sure, for you.
Yes, I've learned a lot about myself along the way.
Right. So you guys have worked with a lot of people. You talk to a lot of people. Many of you have done one-on-ones with people. What do you feel like people at this time? I mean, we've had the pandemic. I mean, it feels like it's been dragging on forever. It seems to be lighting up a little bit here and there, but what are you guys seeing? Like, what are people really wrestling with? Granted, you're right. Our lives are getting interrupted all the time. Social media is also a distraction and interruption, as you guys would probably say. But what are you guys seeing and noticing with people that you're, interacting with and coaching and stuff that you find that they're really struggling with, that maybe our listeners can relate to?
I think it's mental health. I think that's been a common thread through all of our guests, and in some like they may have had another interruption that was big, like a tragic accident or something else, but it's the mental health part that mostly people are struggling with. And especially through the pandemic, a lot of people found themselves alone, which is devastating. And it just went on so long. And look at kids, teens, high schoolers who lost, my son included, who lost the first 2 years of his high school years.
Yeah, wow. That is, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but
go ahead.
I can't imagine I remember that was a really good time in my life, it seemed like. Yeah. I can't imagine losing that at that age.
I know. And thank God I'm giving my own child kudos, because he really made the most of it.
Wow.
Yes, he did.
He really did.
But that's because of you and Kev. Like, you guys are the best parents, and you've modeled that for him. But he did. Gunnar, like, how many movies did he watch and analyze? Like, 100 or something?
Yeah, he's headed towards being a director and a writer, and he watched over 900 films. And I'm not talking about like Caddyshack and stuff like that. I'm talking about like, Fellini and Bergman and Kurosawa and Murakami and all these different directors that he really dove in. And not only did he watch the movies, but he then analyzed them and was looking at camera angles and techniques and things like that, and then started shooting his own stuff during the pandemic. So, but I don't think that's typical. I think most of the kids were really, really struggling.
Right.
And I know that a lot of kids in his school were struggling with depression because of it, because they weren't able to see their friends. And it was rough on the parents.
Absolutely. Yeah. That, it's amazing that your son did do that. But you're right. I think the majority maybe did not go down that road where they made the best of it. Again, we're human beings and we're all imperfect, and we want connection. And that's going to be my next question. Maybe Laura, I'll ask you, why do you think connection is so powerful and important in our lives?
Well, it's, I think to live in community is really important. And I don't really so much know as to why, as it's sort of how we're made, how we're built, we need that. I just took my son, my little guy, to his first, he just turned 2, and we haven't done any like music classes or mommy and me classes. Like, I would have taken him and been, really social with him.
Right.
And just this morning we went to a gymnastics class, and it felt so good to just be connected.
Yeah.
Complete strangers. I had never met the people in this toddler gym in my life, but I think it's in our DNA. It's we're meant to live in community. We're meant to be connected to people. We're not meant to live in isolation like we were.
A philosopher said this, and I don't know who it was, sorry, but that we are this is a two-person universe, meaning that a human always wants to connect with another human in some way, all throughout the day, whether it's, the bank teller or the grocery store clerk or, the mailman or your neighbor or your spouse or your child. Yeah, we want alone time too, of course, especially when you're a busy mom. It's like,
Yeah.
can nothing be required of me for like 5 minutes?
Right.
But and especially the mom of like toddlers, because you can't even go
Yeah.
into the bathroom by yourself. The door's opening and it's crazy.
Right.
Moms,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. But I think we all do, we crave that connection because we are living beings who want that warmth, and we want that vibration and that energy from another soul.
Boy, beautifully said, guys. I love that. I agree. I think we're wired to have connection, and I think that's why this pandemic's been so hard. Is it's isolated a lot of us, and people don't know how to handle that because they miss that connection. There's a lot of moms that listen to my podcast, a lot of moms, and you both are great moms, and I would love you guys to maybe give some advice to some of these moms that I hear a lot from who are struggling themselves. They've got kids, like you said, your life's, or you can't even go to the bathroom, you said, Gina, without them opening the door. Hey, I need help, or I need this. What are some advice you could give some of these moms that are in the thick of it, but maybe they feel overwhelmed and they're not quite sure how to maybe navigate through that? What would you guys tell them?
Well, there's two quotes that I literally live by every day. And
Ooh, I'm excited to hear this.
And I'm not even kidding. In fact, I have them taped to my computer.
Wow.
On a Health Interrupted podcast sticky note, I might just say.
Representing.
Yeah, but one of them, and this is my biggest problem. I worry. Okay, as moms, we worry. Mm-hmm. And Mark Twain said the most amazing thing. He said, I've spent most of my life worrying about things that never happened.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And he also said, worrying is like paying a debt you don't owe. So try to chill out. Don't worry so much. You're doing a great job. The other one is actually a Bible quote, which, I'm not the one that always does that, like has Bible quotes laying around.
Right.
But Joshua 1:9, this one I also have on a little sticky note that's on my computer. That I've had this for probably 20 years.
Oh, man.
And it's the same piece of paper too. It says, don't be discouraged, be strong and courageous. And why do I have that up there? Because a lot of times we get discouraged as moms, as humans, as business owners. We talk, Laura and I always talk about the imposter syndrome, like where you feel like you're a fraud.
Yeah.
And ask any famous actor. I've had clients. Mm-hmm. I remember Kevin James telling me this. I remember Tom Cruise telling me this, that there's at some point in your career, you're going to say, oh my gosh, they're going to find out about me. I'm a fraud. And you're not.
Right.
Like it's fear. It's just fear. And I love this quote because it says, don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged by your thoughts. Don't be discouraged by what other people are putting on you or even what other people say about you. Be strong and courageous. And that has always lifted me up. Always.
Man, beautifully said. Thank you. Laura.
Off of that, fear is based in insecurities, right? And insecurities are fake because they are learned behaviors. And oftentimes those learned behaviors are a result of something you learned as a child or was the result of a certain circumstance or situation, but they're not true. Yeah. And so therefore, if we live through insecurities, we're living through fear. But to your point, G, courage is the opposite of that. And I think to go back to your question, Todd, I think that being courageous as a mom is something we do innately and we don't even realize it. How many times do you have to stick up for your kid, or do you have to make an uncomfortable phone call, or do you have to have an uncomfortable conversation, but we don't think about it and let fear get in the way, or we don't think about it and not do it because it's your child. Of course you will. Yeah. And I love that quote.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Wonder Woman behind me.
Yeah.
I have Wonder Woman everywhere because for me, she represents that strong and courageous and not discouraged person. And These, by the way, I have about 5 of these. They're a wonderful artist out of Nashville. His name's Mike Smith. I just want to mention him. He had a heart
Sure.
attack a year ago or so, and
Oh, wow.
he had a widowmaker, and
Mm.
he survived it. And he's one of my favorite artists, and he did these Wonder Woman sketches for me, and it means so much, especially from him and what he's been through. So no
Thank
matter,
you.
especially for moms, no matter what you're going through, always ask for help. I don't think enough people ask for help. It's like, it doesn't mean that you're less if you ask for
Right.
help.
Mhm.
It actually means that you're smart if you ask for help.
Right.
Yes.
So please do, whether even if it's the smallest thing, like have your sister come over and watch the kids so you can take a shower, or
Hmm.
just ask a neighbor to help you. It's so important. And I know, Todd, you do this all day long. I mean, you help people. Woo, you're going to have a mansion in heaven, my friend. Helped a lot of people.
Well, I've had a lot of people help me along the way, as you guys probably know that too. And as you guys, what you just said was so beautiful. And that Mark Twain quote about worrying about things that have never happened. I spent most of my life doing that. I can relate with that. In my 32 years in doing this, the best definition I've ever heard of anxiety, because I'll ask my clients, "Hey, what's anxiety?" And they're like, they always describe it with a feeling. Feel like I'm running a marathon, or I feel like I stepped off the end of a step with, into the dark. But the best definition is that I've come across is it's a misuse of your imagination. That's all it is. We're imagining something that isn't going to happen. It's just make believe. And it goes along with Mark Twain's quote. And for any mom or anyone listening to this, I think that's where we need help, is sometimes to take a step back, take a breather, ask a neighbor to help, ask a coach like you guys to help them out. But it's interesting how powerful our thoughts can be. And going back to what you do, Laura, when you flip the narrative and you change that, and you do that several times in a day. I love that, because I think you're just retelling yourself that, oh, that was wrong. This is true,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Totally.
So that leads into my next question is, and we'll start with you, Laura. Talk about narrative, and what's some of the narrative that you're seeing with, maybe, people that you're rubbing shoulders with and the people you reach out to that's holding them back. Like, I hear this a lot in my, all the time. Hey, did you get that done? No, I'm a procrastinator. And that's their narrative, right? And they'll prove it to me. Well, Todd, I don't do this, or this. So I'm just curious what you guys, with your experience with the people you work with, what are some of the narratives you hear that are most often holding people back?
I think fear. I think fear of the unknown is what holds so many people back. I mean, I've watched recently, it's funny how when you're thinking about something, you kind of tracked it, and then all of a sudden there's tons of videos for you to watch on this particular topic or something. But I think a lot of people face fear, and a lot of people who overcome that realize that when that fear creeps in, when the thought of, can I do something? Am I able to do something? Comes in, that's actually the thing you need to do. And that fear is actually maybe an indicator for you to say, maybe I need to learn some skills, or maybe I need to, learn something to be able to do this. But I think fear holds a lot of people back. And my, myself included, I think insecurity and fear can be something that keeps you from pursuing something that is important to you. But if you go back to the understanding of insecurity fear stems from insecurity, and insecurities are often so many times learned behavior that it actually isn't present behavior. It's oftentimes so far from the past, we just bring it all with us. I love psychology so much, and I'm so into healing childhood wounds, because it all just plays out as an adult.
Sure does. Yeah.
And those fears are, often just not even happening in your real life. It's just all up here.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah,
a lot of times,
Yeah, very well said again. And, it's funny, today I did a group, had 16 people in my therapeutic group this morning. And I started off with this quote that says, live your life with the confidence of a 4-year-old wearing a Batman t-shirt. And,
Yes.
and it goes back to what you're saying, Laura, is that, why, like if I was telling my group, I said, if I did a cartwheel right now, you guys would probably think I'm weird. But if a 4-year-old came in and did a cartwheel and a somersault, we'd all go, oh, look how cute.
Right.
And it's funny how we we forget that that's us. When we were younger, we played big. And it seems like sometimes when we get older, that fear, we start to play small.
Yes. We don't come in that way.
Right.
Kids don't come in thinking about, if I fall down because I'm learning to walk, oh my gosh, I can't get up because what is someone going to think? I'm trying again to walk.
Right.
Well, of course you are.
Right.
and they don't think anything of it. And you're right. We lose it somehow along the way. And I think life is just meant to be a continual coming home to that.
Ooh, I love
place that we start the way we started.
Yeah.
Which is pure and all love and not here, all here.
Yeah.
Feeling, not brain.
Girl, you tell it like it is, girl.
I know that's one of those.
I just also had therapy like 3 hours ago, so it's fresh.
Oh man,
that was awesome.
I try and live that way. It's hard. It's because we're human, but but the more you understand your past and yourself, there's so much less emotion attached to it, and you can be practical with your decisions.
Right.
And it kind of broadens your understanding of life, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
That makes
very
sense.
well said. Gina, what would you add to that? What would you say?
The biggest thing I see with people, not just like our guests that we have, but also training people for so long and training all kinds of people, from housewives to moms to elite celebrities and athletes and all kinds of people, directors, writers, producers. Usually when they're struggling with something, it's because they can't get themselves out of the way. They are the reason in their head. And it relates to what you were saying, Laura, but also it's because they have some idea of what will happen if they succeed in this area.
Yeah.
I actually had someone, an actress a long time ago, who I finally got to the bottom of it. The reason why she couldn't lose weight for so long was because she was afraid that if she looked better and she looked good, that men would be attracted to her. And because of something that happened to her when she was abused as a child, like physically abused, she was afraid. She built this wall of fat around her. Okay, so that if she just stayed like that, nobody would come closer. And so I wound up referring her out to someone that I use here in the area for therapy. And after she did all that, oh my gosh, she lost weight so fast because she didn't have that holding her back anymore. And I think that's a really good example of somebody like themselves being in their own way. Yeah. And not being able to move forward on something. And it was all internal.
Yeah. Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, our beliefs dictate the way we behave. And like what Laura said earlier, it all stems from when we were a kid and how it plays out when we're adults. And again, that's why we're constantly, like you said, rewiring our brains, sometimes 100 times a day if we have to. We're all in this together, kind of thing. So I'm going to ask, maybe this is kind of I'm going a detour here with this question, but I'll start with you, Laura. What do you love most about you?
I love that I'm going to be 34, and I'm just now learning how to love myself.
Okay.
And learning to love, the good parts about me, the imperfect parts about me. And I love learning about me and the why and understanding that. And with that comes self-love to make healthy choices with what I put into my body, with how I move my body, with the choices I make in my life. I think learning how to love myself in a really deep way that has allowed me to really care about my life and everything in it is one of the most important things to me.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Beautifully said again. Gina, how about you? What do you love most about you?
Well, I think it's something that I feel proud of is that I care about other people, and I will go to the ends of the earth to get an answer for them if they're struggling with something, even if it's not necessarily in my scope of knowledge. I'll say, you know what, you asked me about this, I'm going to find an answer for you, and I'll take it to the end and make sure that they got the result that they wanted. And I think not enough people do that. People just brush people off. Well, do you know a sports psychologist? No. And that's it. And they end it right there. Like, well, wait a second. I know a lot of people. Let me make a few calls for you. And Todd, I know you're like this. You've done it for us. We've had private calls, the three of us, and you've been so wonderful to us, and we appreciate you. But I think just caring about other people is something that I will never stop doing, for sure.
Well, I feel the same about you too. You guys are definitely two that really, are trying to make this world a better place. And you do that with every conversation, with every people, every person you have met in your life. So I really appreciate you two in that way. Gina, I'm going to ask you another question. What do you love most about Laura?
Ooh. Well, there's a lot of things.
I know there's a lot, but maybe just pick one. We know there's a ton.
She's sincere.
Mm.
And that's something that's really important to me because especially when you're working with somebody and you're close friends with somebody, you want to be able to trust them and know that they're not lying to you, or they're not, doing something behind your back, or just trying to get something from you. She's none of that. She's sincere and honest and trustworthy. And I think those are virtues that you should always look for in a business partner and a friend.
Yeah, I love it.
Always.
Love it. Yeah. How about you, Laura? What do you love most about Gina?
I trust Gina. We've known each other for 10 years and we have like a vault of information.
Yeah, I bet.
And, and when you meet someone that you can trust with anything you share with them, and it's, stays there, that's really, really, really important.
Wow. Beautifully said again. You guys are amazing, honestly. One of the questions I love to ask, and, any one of you can answer, I want both of you to answer this, but if there's someone listening to you guys at this very moment who's struggling, they're in a dark place, they're alone, they feel disconnected, or whatever it may be, they're just having a rough time, a rough week, rough month, rough year, what's some advice that you could give them to maybe help them?
Well, I think first of all, stop looking so far inward on yourself, and there's somebody out there that needs you, that needs you to help them. And I
love that.
It is true, because if you keep looking inward, you're only going to keep finding faults and things to worry about. And remember, Mark Twain spent a lifetime worrying about things that never happened. So, so if you're struggling, start by asking for help. And second, find somebody that needs your help. We had an amazing guy, a hockey player, who almost died on the ice, Clint Malarchuk, who got an ice skate went across his carotid artery, and he was bleeding out on the ice. And there happened to be a medic there who was trained in a war, and he saved his life. But he struggles every day getting up, and Clint talks about this on the episode that we had with him. And the thing that gets him up in the morning is he knows there's people out there that need him, because now he's spent his life helping others.
Yeah.
And I think really think about that when you're struggling.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's someone that's even struggling more than you are.
Yeah.
And they need you.
Thank you. Someone needs you. I love that. How about you, Laura?
I think we need to, as a society, really, really start prioritizing talking about mental health.
Yeah.
I think we are all guilty of being afraid to say, I'm struggling and I need help. In recent news, there was the beautiful former Miss USA who unknowingly suffered from severe depression and, took her life through jumping out of her New York City, sky rise building. And there's this conversation of, if we only knew, if she only reached out. And I just think that, especially given what we've all collectively gone through with the pandemic, we just need to normalize saying, I need help.
Yeah.
And if anyone is listening that feels that way, find someone you trust. You don't have to say much, just say, I need some help. I'm really struggling. I need you to listen. I need you to point me in the right direction. I need to come be with you. I need to stay with you.
Yeah.
To Gina's point, there are people in your life that love you and care about you, and just ask for help. We need to normalize it.
Call us, call Todd, message us.
Yeah.
We can steer you in the right, well, not if, we will steer you in the right direction.
And we've all been there, we've all been there saying we need help.
Yeah.
Certainly I know I have. So it's okay. It's normal.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, guys. We need to be better at that. And I think also maybe adding to that, if we sense someone's struggling, we should probably have the courage to go ask, hey, are you really okay?
Yeah.
Are you really doing okay? Because it doesn't seem like it. And maybe that'll help open them up a little bit and say, you know what, actually, I'm not, So, but yeah, I love what you guys said there. I know that your podcast obviously is helping a lot of people. A lot of people tune in to just hear about, their mental health and also their physical health, but just all these great topics and things you had. What is the best way if someone wants to reach out to you two and maybe ask you guys a question, if they want to link up with your podcast and subscribe and download it and all that, what's the best way for them to do that? I'm sorry, Gina.
No, this is how Laura and I usually look at each other, and if one of us makes a move, we know they're going to talk, and neither one of us did.
I set you guys up for that
awkward,
one.
Like, if I go, she's going to go. So I'm not going to go.
Totally.
You can go to our website, healthinterruptedpodcast.com. There's an area that you can submit your email and information. You can also check out our social media, Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, Health Interrupted Podcast. Gina and I's, personal Instagram, Gina's at Coach Lombardi. I'm at Kepler Laura. Send us a message, but probably the website is the best way.
Yeah. And if you're somebody that you feel like and everybody's story is important. If you've been through something, you've had a health interruption and you want to talk about it, because it often makes you feel good to be able to talk about it with other people. We'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about your health interruption and how you got through it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And you can always personally message us on social media. I get so many emails that it's almost better when I get a message on Instagram, like a direct message. I see that before I see the emails.
Isn't that funny? I know. Yeah. Times are changing.
Yeah.
No, you guys, man, this has been such a pleasure to sit down with you two and just listen to you guys and learn from you. And, I look at all your guys' accomplishments, and you have many, but to also just hear you're just, regular people who are just trying to do their best. You're not perfect, but watch what you guys do. It's inspiring, and it chokes me up to think about it. And you're just down to earth, really good people. And, if I read people's, your accomplishments to someone, they'd be like, oh, I probably can't talk to them. They wouldn't. I mean, you guys really are the most down to earth people I think I've ever met.
Oh, wow. Thank you. so
You know
much.
why we're down to earth? Because we're all going to wind up there anyway. So why not just be down here?
That's
That is
funny.
a good point, Gina. Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but I guess yeah.
Oh, that's really funny. But
No,
true.
that's a good point though, because, and thank you for saying all those lovely things about us.
Sure.
You know, I remember somebody was interviewing me and they said, "Oh, well, you live in LA, you know, you
Yeah.
probably have 3 housekeepers and 4 nannies and
Right.
blah, blah, blah." And I said, housekeeper? No. Nanny? No, don't have that. Don't even have family out here. Like when we had our
Yeah.
child, we had 0 help. And I had just gotten a TV show that I spent 2 years pitching and trying to get sold. And it was called Fit Nation, and it was wound up on the Discovery Health Channel.
Yeah.
And it was 2 years of really hard work, just pounding the pavement and
Yeah.
trying to get it sold. My husband was the only person that I had really. There
Yeah.
was no family out here, no help at all. We did not have a nanny. So I love telling people that because it's like, no, I did not have all that.
Yeah.
So just like everybody else that usually, you know, doesn't. So, yeah, thank you. It's a compliment to say that we're down to earth. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Easy to talk to. Just seriously, you really are. You guys just make it so simple and easy. But I can't thank you guys enough for taking some time to be with me today. And it's an honor to have you on my show. It really is.
Todd, it was an honor to be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure and always an inspiration to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Well, folks, I told you this was going to be another great episode, and it sure was. We have Laura Kepler and Gina Lombardi. Please reach out to them. Their website is healthinterruptedpodcast.com. You can listen to my episode on there. But they've had some amazing guests on. They've got Paul Cardall coming up, which is fantastic. I can't wait to listen to that one. And these women are amazing. Look at what they're doing. Reach out to them, ask them questions, and they're sure to help you. And so again, thank you guys. And for everyone tuning in, I love you. Thanks for all your support. Take care.
We love you, Todd.
Love you guys.
So much.